Some are entertaining, some are sad, some are scary, and some are thought-provoking. Some can even be controversial. I'm sure we've all seen movies that we found offensive. Even if not to you, certain movies can be offensive to certain people. So what am I talking about? Drugs, sex, violence, bad language? All those can be offensive. But I'm talking about adoption. Some of us in this room have been touched by adoption, and others of us may never have given much thought to it. I said movies about adoption can be offensive. What could be offensive about in a movie that deals with adoption? Is it the adoption itself that's offensive? Not to me, my sisters are adopted. What I find offensive is some movies' incorrect portrayals of adoption. The depictions all mention perpetuate false stereotypes about adoption, even though they're silly children's movies. Through the inaccuracies in these movies' depictions of adoption, viewers who may know almost nothing about adoption laws may become even more confused about adoption. My family adopted both of my sisters, and I know enough about adoption to know that some movies get significant facts wrong in their depictions of adoption. Today I would like to show you how offensive I find media's selective treatment of adoption in children's movies. Some things are funny or appropriate to joke about in kids' movies. Adoption is too serious for that. I'd also like to show you how the adoption process worked for our family. A much different experience than Hollywood might lead us to believe. Once you see several examples of movies that portray adoption incorrectly, you will understand why they offend me. These movies are fantasy, and you can't take them seriously. Nevertheless, they can still be misleading on adoption. You may have heard of the classic children's book called Stuart Little, in which a human family has a young mouse for a child. In the movie version, he becomes part of their family by adoption from an orphanage. Later, a mouse couple show up at the door claiming to be Stuart's birth parents. Not only do Stuart's parents believe them, but they let Stuart leave with the mouse couple, no questions asked. In the next scene, the mouse couple will reveal that they were lying, and they are not Stuart's birth family. Not only is it hard to believe that Stuart's parents would let him leave with the mouse couple, he's theirs, yet it would also be illegal for the mouse couple to take him even if they were his birth parents. Because in adoption, the birth family completely gives up their custody rights to the child. What the mouse couple did in the movie is kidnap Stuart by deception. I find this inaccurate portrayal of adoption very offensive. Though this movie may have good bits, for me this incorrect portrayal of adoption laws overshadows its good aspects. For our family, it ruined me, and I wish my sisters had not seen it when they were so young. Although this is fiction and a children's movie, I still think the movie makers should have done a better job dealing with this sensitive subject. Another movie that portrays current adoption incorrectly is Meet the Robinsons, in which the main character's mother leaves him on the doorstep of the orphanage. Although it may be legal to take a child to the police station, the image of a baby left on a doorstep does not reflect everyday reality. In Santa Claus is Coming to Town, a Christmas TV children's movie from the early 70s, the baby Santa is also found on a doorstep with a note from his mother. Aside from making these big inaccuracies, Hollywood seems to understand poorly the distinctions between adoption and foster care. They also portray orphanages as a common, contemporary institution. Although orphanages still existed in the U.S. as late as the 1990s, foster care is used today. And, foster care can lead to adoption, although it doesn't lead to adoption in every case. So for example, in Despicable Me, the main character, Gru, adopts 3 little girls from an orphanage, yet another historical image stereotyped by movies. One inaccuracy in this movie's portrayal of adoption is that Gru takes the children to his home to stay the day he meets them. Although there is a reference to a background check, no house visit by a social worker or caseworker before the adoption to make the home safe. To make sure the home is safe is portrayed. These are children, not pets. Later in the movie, a third party calls the orphanage, claiming that Gru wants to return the children, and the headmistress of the orphanage comes to take them back to the orphanage. Returning kids might be possible under the circumstances of foster care, but if the girls have been fully adopted, in America, neither Gru nor a third party can return them to the orphanage. Once adoption is complete, the adoptive parents' custody of the child is the same as their custody of biological children. It's okay for movies to portray foster care. They just shouldn't call it adoption if that's not what they mean. I am very disappointed in Hollywood's portrayal of adoption. It is disrespectful of families touched by adoption, and its inaccuracies may be detrimental to our people's understanding and view of adoption. The movie's fictional examples can be confusing and misleading, and give their audience a completely inaccurate picture of how modern adoption in the U.S. really works. These faulty representations are an insult to adoption, and show that the movie makers were thoughtless and did insufficient research, if any, about a part of their movie that would have a personal connection to part of their audience. The people making these films should realize how serious the subject of adoption is, and how important it is to so many people. Movies can get some of things right. The filmmakers should either take adoption seriously and make it their duty to get it right, or they should choose not to portray it. They're not stupid people, and they may not have an agenda, but they may be as uninformed as some of their audience. So, now that you have seen how Hollywood has failed in its portrayal of adoption, you probably wonder how it works for real. Now I will describe my family's experience with adoption. So, how did my family's adoption experience work? My sisters are Native Alaskans, whom we adopted while we were living in Alaska. My parents work as an adoption agency that helps families wishing to adopt and birth families making adoption plans. Birth Families, working with Catholic Social Services, the agency that helped us to choose the family that adopts their child. The finalization of the adoption takes place in court. For a pregnant woman, making an adoption plan before the baby's birth is always an option. So a woman who had a chance to use her resources would always be able to make a better decision for the baby than to put it on a doorstep. Unlike Groom, who goes through a background check that obviously did not involve references, since he made most of it up, and adopts the 3 girls the same day he meets them, my parents went through background checks, as well as fingerprinting before adopting my sisters. This process required letters of reference, and letters from several friends, and my parents had to attend classes, there were income requirements, and they had to have no criminal background. My parents made a portfolio, including many question and answer pages they filled out about themselves, such as their likes, dislikes, hobbies, and background to help the birth family get to know them. And they also include photos in the portfolio. That is how a birth family chooses. Birth parents come in and describe what they're looking for in an adopted family. The birth families only offer portfolios that match the criteria they have made, such as a non-smoking birth family, adopted family, or an adopted family that already has kids. They choose a family based on what they find in the portfolios. Whether they meet face-to-face is up to the birth family. After the birth family chooses the adopted family, there are still several more steps before the adoption is complete. Before each of my sisters was adopted, a home study was done to make sure ours was a safe home. An employee of Catholic Social Services visited our home 3 times after we brought the baby home, and it was several months before the adoptions were finalized. After the adoption is finalized in court, the child is permanently part of a new family and receives his or her new legal name. And some of the photos that I passed around show the adoption finalization of my second youngest sister. When I first became a big sister. Adoption is a positive thing that all the media, not just movies and not just children's movies, needs to respect. It is not second best, and it needs to be portrayed correctly. Then more people will choose it, and more pregnant women will choose life. So, you have seen how Hollywood trivializes adoption, and how offensive this is to me. I have told you our family story, and described our experience with adoption. You have seen how different the movies are from real life. Now, when you see a movie that deals with adoption, you'll have some background, and you'll be able to tell if it is an accurate portrayal or if it's just more Hollywood nonsense. Thank you.